Long ago, the civilization of this Earth became so advanced that it brought about its own destruction.
Sin and Punishment Star Successor is the sequel to a game released on the N64 in Japan of 2000. It was then re-released back in 2007 on the Virtual Console for the Wii. It was a very simple rail shooter that followed the story of rebels fighting back against the ruffians. It wasn't exactly the best game on the market, but it is still a very enjoyable shooter. Now about 10 years later, it finally has a sequel, so with the next Sin and Punishment, a true successor.
You thought we'd just let you leave? Hand over the girl.
Sin and Punishment was created by Treasure, who are also known for such games as Ikaruga and Gunstar Heroes. You play as either Issa or Kachi, who are on the run from a group named Nebula. Issa was tasked with killing Kachi, an artificial being running loose on the Earth, but instead, for reasons unknown, he decides to protect her. So a majority of the story is basically you running from Nebulox and trying to keep Kachi from being killed. It's a very straightforward story that keeps you interested through cutscenes when you're not shooting things out of the sky. The gameplay is very similar to that of classic on-rail shooters like Panzer Dragoon and Space Harrier, so all the control is left up to the scrolling environment while you use the analog stick to evade various projectiles in your path. The Wii remote is used to target the countless enemies on the screen, while the B button is used to dispatch them with well-placed fire. Holding down the B button will make sure that you keep up a steady rate of fire, while tapping it will make your character use a melee attack. This attack is useful for knocking objects out of your path that you cannot shoot. While locked on with the A button, you can use the melee button to knock projectiles back into the faces of enemies for increased damage. The A button can also be held down to start a continuous lock sequence on multiple targets, or a heavy lock sequence when you need to take down something extremely big. The movement comes off very fluidly for the most part. The only problem is that the game can lock onto certain objects on its own when you wish to shoot something else. It's not a big problem since releasing the B button and pressing it again will select your next target. Things can easily get very challenging in Star Successor. You'll have to use all of your reflexes to get out of a mixture of situations. More than likely you'll be using the evade button a lot, seeing as most of the bosses have rigorous patterns that you have to memorize. It's been a long time since I played a game with such classic boss battles, and on higher difficulties, it really puts your reflexes to the test. It's good to see a shooter that is as fun as it is challenging, not to mention that this game can be played with another player. It's just sad that you can only play locally. Either way though, if you have a friend around, crank it to the hardest level and have a great time.
But you lose points for your lousy taste in women. Say, after I kill your girlfriend here, you want to take me on a date?
The graphics in game are really well done, with very nice lighting effects and some strange psychedelic water textures. The game is a delight to look at even with all the glowing bullets flying at you constantly. From the various enemy types to the over-the-top boss battles you'll encounter in each stage. The only real issue with the graphics would have to be the cutscene animations, with most of the models moving like robots being pulled by puppet strings. Luckily this doesn't happen during actual gameplay.
Yeah. Hey Issa, do you know why they're hunting me? Is it because I don't belong here?
The voiceover is simply passable if that. The only one that genuinely sounds like he is trying would be Issa. Everyone else is hamming it up, especially all of the enemies you'll fight throughout the game.
You missed me.
Luckily the music makes up for all of your sound problems, with vivid rock and electronic music that penetrates the senses and fuels the combat. When the bullets and explosions start to go off all around you, you'll feel like you're right in the heart of the battle. At the end of the day, Sin and Punishment Star Successor is an amazing shooter. It brings back that classic feel that has been missing from the genre for a while. The story won't necessarily drag you in and the difficulty won't appeal to everyone, but for those that are interested in classic shoot 'em ups, this is the one that you've been waiting for. So Half-Ass Gaming gives Sin and Punishment a B-, and thank you for watching.
All this trouble for 2 kids, I tell ya. Huh? There he is!